Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Russia launches overnight missile strikes on Ukraine after the planned summit between Trump and Putin put on hold. Moscow rejects US demand of a ceasefire, asking Ukraine to cede more territory. French President Emmanuel Macron calls for acceleration of increased security measures for Louvre Museum after it reopened following Sunday's daring heist. India's development journey is a template for growth, says Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal at the UNCTAD roundtable in Geneva. Adds India is addressing supply chain vulnerabilities through its Atmanirbhar agenda. And Japan's first woman prime minister prepares large economic stimulus to tackle inflation. Work like a horse. Sane Takaichi rejects work-life balance in her first speech. Up first, news from the Russia-Ukraine conflict. A Russian overnight barrage on Ukraine killed 6 people in and around capital Kiev and triggered power cuts across the country, Ukrainian authorities said on Wednesday. The attack comes a day after efforts to settle the nearly 4-year war hit another roadblock after a planned presidential meeting between US leader Donald Trump and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin was cancelled. So as this planned summit between President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin was put on hold on Tuesday after Moscow's rejection of an immediate ceasefire in Ukraine, it cast a cloud over negotiations. Trump announced last week that he and Putin were to meet soon in Hungary to try to end the Ukraine crisis. But Putin has been unwilling to consider concessions and wants Ukraine to cede more territory before any ceasefire.
US President Donald Trump abruptly shelved a planned summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin due to Moscow's refusal to agree to an immediate ceasefire in Ukraine. He also cited fears of a wasted meeting, dimming hopes for swift negotiations to end the ongoing conflict.
No, I don't want to have a wasted meeting. I don't want to have a waste of time, so I'll see what happens. But we did all of these great deals, great peace deals. They're all peace deals. They're agreements, solid agreements, every one of them. But this one, and I said, go to the line of battle, the battlefield lines, and you pull back and you go home, and everybody take some time off because you got 2 countries that are killing each other. 2 countries that are losing 5,000 to 7,000 soldiers a week. So we'll see what happens.
Following a heated White House meeting last week, President Donald Trump urged Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to surrender the eastern Donbas region. Zelensky was denied long-range Tomahawk missiles and left without progress. Zelensky said on Tuesday that Russia almost automatically became less interested in diplomacy due to the postponement of a decision by the US administration on Tomahawk missiles for Ukraine.
Натомість Росія знову робить все.
Russia is once again doing anything to avoid diplomacy. And as soon as the question of long-range weapons for us, for Ukraine moved away, Russia almost automatically became less interested in diplomacy.
Менш зацікавленою.
Trump, after a productive phone call, as he termed it, with Russia's Putin on October 16th, had touted the Budapest summit as a breakthrough, while their August Alaska meeting yielded no progress. Russia's dismissal of an immediate ceasefire demanding full Donbas control and Ukraine's neutrality derailed the momentum for the meeting. European leaders, including France's Emmanuel Macron, Italy's Giorgia Meloni, and Britain's Keir Starmer, had issued a joint statement on Tuesday backing Trump's ceasefire call, but insisting on current front lines as the negotiation baseline without territorial losses for Kiev. Trump's personal diplomacy with Putin has frustrated allies who scramble to counter Moscow's obstinance. Bureau Report, DD India.
Meanwhile, Russia said on Wednesday that preparation for the presidential summit between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump was still ongoing, despite the US leader's announcement that it had been shelved. When asked about Trump's comments, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters that no one wants to waste time, neither President Trump nor President Putin. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov said preparations were continuing. On the ground, Russia's defense ministry said that its forces had captured the village of Pavlivka in Ukraine's southeastern Zaporozhye region on Wednesday, as well as Ivanivka village in neighboring the Dnipropetrovsk region. The ministry also said in a statement on Telegram that it had struck Ukrainian energy infrastructure in what it said was a response to Ukrainian attacks on Russian civilian targets. Ukrainian authorities earlier said that 6 people had been killed in Russian strikes overnight. On to France now, where President Emmanuel Macron on Wednesday demanded an acceleration of security upgrades at the Louvre following Sunday's audacious theft robbery. The daylight heist involving 8 priceless pieces exposed security lapses, sparking public frustration over unclaimed responsibility.
Administrative investigations on the one hand and judicial investigations on the other are underway and will shed full light on what happened. Macron also indicated that measures to secure the Louvre were being deployed, and he requested an acceleration of these measures, with a proposal for acceleration expected next week.
The Louvre reopened on Wednesday after a Sunday heist that saw thieves steal 8 priceless royal jewels, including Napoleon I's gift to Empress Marie-Louise, valued at $102 million. The Apollo Gallery remains closed as over 100 investigators pursue an organized crime group. The daylight robbery involving a ladder and a truck sparked criticism of French museum security. Interior Minister Laurent Nunez expressed confidence in capturing the culprits. Louvre Director Laurence Descartes faces Senate questioning today on the security measures. The museum defended its 2019 display cases despite recent thefts at other institutions. Visitors like Fanny from southern France were relieved to enter the world's most visited museum. US Vice President J.D. Vance voiced great optimism over the US-brokered Gaza ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, saying its success will depend on constant monitoring and supervision. Speaking at the Civilian Military Coordination Center, where US troops oversee the truce, Vance praised Israel's cooperation and urged patience as officials work to locate missing hostages.
What we've seen the past week gives me great optimism the ceasefire is going to hold. And if we get from where we were a week ago to a long-term, durable peace between Israel and Gaza, there are going to be hills and valleys. There are going to be moments where it looks like things aren't going particularly well. But given that, and given the history of conflict, I think that everybody should be proud of where we are today.
Joined by Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff and Jay Kushner, Vance emphasized that Washington has set no deadline for Hamas's disarmament, calling it a difficult process.
We know that Hamas has to comply with the deal, and if Hamas doesn't comply with the deal, very bad things are going to happen. But I'm not going to do what the President of the United States has thus far refused to do, which is put an explicit deadline on it, because a lot of this stuff is difficult.
Israel's military confirmed on Wednesday that the remains of 2 more hostages returned the day before have been identified as 85-year-old Aryeh Zalmanovich and Master Sergeant Tamir Adar. According to the army, Zalmanovich was abducted from his home in Kibbutz Nir Oz during October 7, 2023 attacks and later killed in captivity on November 17th that year. Adar, aged 38, was killed while defending the same kibbutz on October 7th, and his body was then taken captive. The identification of their remains forms part of the ongoing process under the ceasefire-related deal aimed at recovering living and deceased hostages held by Hamas since the start of the conflict. After 2 years of Hamas captivity in Gaza, freed Israeli hostage Avinatan Or returned on Tuesday to his home in the Jewish settlement of Shiloh in West Bank. He was welcomed by cheering crowds, waving Israeli flags. A convoy of cars and motorcycles escorted Or's van as he smiled, waved and thanked Israelis and the army for bringing him home. The settlers lined the streets, clapping and singing as Or made heart and victory gestures from the window. Later, while addressing the crowd, he said that he was grateful to feel all the love from the people. Police escorted Or through the settlement in a golf cart, and as celebrations continued, Or got off the cart and danced with the crowd. Syria is on the verge of major economic changes as it anticipates a possible easing of US sanctions, according to Economy Minister Mohammad Nidal Al-Shar. Speaking in London, Al-Shar expressed hope that a related bill would soon reach US President Donald Trump for potential approval. This will help stabilize its struggling currency as Syria is preparing to issue new banknotes early next year, which will remove 2 zeros from the current denominations. This measure is intended to boost the Syrian pound's purchasing power, which has sharply declined due to years of conflict. Reconstruction remains a massive hurdle, with the World Bank estimating the cost at $216 billion. Al-Shar emphasized that the actual expenses could even be higher, especially when factoring in the modernization of infrastructure. Meanwhile, Syria is working on restructuring its debt to ease the financial burden. You're watching DD India Live, still to come on the show. UK inflation rate holds at 3.8% for the third month in a row. Greek police arrest dozens in raids over EU farm subsidies scandal. And India's 2-time Olympic medalist and star javelin thrower Neeraj Chopra conferred with the honorary rank of Lieutenant Colonel.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I am Tanvi Taneja. Germany is in the middle of a heated immigration debate. Chancellor Friedrich Merz's latest remarks have sparked criticism and raised tough questions about who belongs and who doesn't. For more, let's turn to DW correspondent Chiponda Chimbelu joining me from Berlin now. Welcome back. You're watching. Hi, Chiponda. What has triggered this latest controversy?
Habe ich gedacht. Ich höre nix. Good to know.
There seems to be a time lag there. Let's try and connect with Chiponda. Well, Germany is in the middle of a heated immigration debate, as is Europe and the United States there. So Chancellor Friedrich Merz's latest remarks have sparked criticism as to who belongs and who doesn't. Chiponda Chimbelu gives us more perspective here. Let's try and connect with him once again. Chiponda, if you can hear me, what has triggered this latest controversy? We'll try and connect with Chiponda from DW Berlin in a moment. Well, German Chancellor is in the middle of a heated immigration debate, and we'll try and connect with Chiponda in just a while from now. For now, let's move on. India's Minister of Commerce and Industry, Piyush Goyal, attended the 16th United Nations Conference on Trade and Development Ministerial Conference in Geneva. This is the 16th UNCTAD Roundtable. Addressing the UNCTAD Roundtable, Minister Piyush Goyal said that India is addressing supply chain vulnerabilities through its Atmanirbhar or self-reliant agenda.
Atmanirbhar Bharat, that's a self-reliant India. And we are addressing each and every supply chain sectorally to see where our vulnerabilities are, where we need to expand capacity, even though it may not be adhering to Michael Porter's theory of the comparative advantage of nations. We are willing to pay that extra buck to be able to have resilience in our supply chains. And that has, of course, helped us create jobs, helped us create production capacities within the country.
The Office for National Statistics reported on Wednesday that Britain's inflation rate held at 3.8% in September, above the Bank of England's 2% target. The unchanged Consumer Prices Index, defying a predicted rise to 4%, keeps pressure on the Labour government ahead of its October 30th budget. Finance Minister Rachel Reeves, disappointed, signalled potential tax hikes to address soaring deficits after September's 5-year borrowing high. Lower food, recreation and airfare costs curbed inflation, but persistent services inflation at 5% dims rate cut hopes. Economists expect the Bank of England to hold rates at 5.25% on November 7th, with only a 70% chance of a December cut. And now let's connect with DW's Chiponda Chimbelu. They're trying to dissect for us the heated immigration debate there. So Chiponda, what has triggered this latest immigration controversy there?
Well, it actually started last week, and that was when Chancellor Friedrich Merz spoke of a problem in Germany's cityscapes and linked that to immigration. And that is what started all of this, actually. Now, opposition parties and even some of the Chancellor's fellow Christian Democrats have criticized the Chancellor for linking problems in German cities to immigration. The Greens and the Left Party have demanded that Merz apologize for what they call racist and discriminatory remarks. But the German Chancellor has doubled down on his cityscape statement, and he did that on Monday. And since the weekend, of course, we have also seen protests in response. And of course, many ordinary people here have been putting up critical posts on social media asking whether they are also part of the problematic cityscapes that the German Chancellor was speaking of.
So tell us a little bit more about it. What effect is this discussion having on German society?
Well, there are some who are already saying that it's going to make Germany a harder place to live for minorities and immigrants. Now, before the Chancellor's statement last week, 1 in 4 immigrants had already said that they were thinking about leaving the country. And that's according to a study that was published in the summer by the German Institute for Employment Research. And it was highly skilled workers, especially those in IT and finance, who are most likely to have concrete plans to leave Germany. Now, one of the main reasons was dissatisfaction with the political situation in the country. Experts say that the shift in immigration rhetoric and the rise in the popularity of the far-right AfD are key factors. And Germany is also potentially becoming less attractive for immigrants from other EU countries. Now, last year marked the first time since 2008 that more EU citizens left Germany than actually moved here.
Okay, so explain to us how crucial is immigration for German economy?
Very crucial. And that is because baby boomers are retiring in record numbers. And then, of course, countries like Poland, which have been a source of immigrants, are growing much faster economically than Germany. So if we do see EU citizens moving back to their home countries or other places in the EU, and less of them coming to Germany than in previous years, then Germany will have to rely more on immigrants from outside Europe, from Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And that is why there are some concerns about the Chancellor's latest rhetoric on immigration. Now, just to give you a sense of how much immigration matters, in the health sector alone, nearly every fifth nurse is from abroad. Now, over the last 15 years, the number of foreign workers in Germany has risen by 4 million. And that's not counting the ones who've become German citizens.
Okay. We leave it here. Thank you very much, Iponda, for explaining to us what's at the heart of this immigration debate. US President Donald Trump is heading to Japan next week from October 27th to 29th for talks with Japan's new and first woman Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi. Trade, investment, security are expected to dominate agenda as the two leaders meet in Tokyo next week. But what's also in the news is Sanae Takaichi's aggressive plans to increase productivity, even shunning work-life balance in the process. DD India's Abhimanyu reports.
Japan's new Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, is preparing for a first major diplomatic meeting with US President Donald Trump during his visit to Tokyo early next week. Her government is finalizing a significant purchase package to present to Trump, including American-made Ford F-150 pickup trucks, more US soybeans, and increased imports of liquefied natural gas. The soybean deal aims to support US farmers struggling with Chinese import restrictions. Currently, US soybeans make up about 70% of Japan's consumption. The package builds on previous $550 billion investment in US by Japan. The pact brokered by Takaichi's predecessor, Shigeru Ishiba, the pact aimed at securing lower auto tariffs. On the defense front, while Washington is pressing Japan and other allies to boost military spending, Takaichi will not likely commit to a new defense spending target at this meeting. Following the meeting in Tokyo, Trump and Takaichi are expected to travel together to Malaysia for the ASEAN summit and later to South Korea for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation meeting. As Takaichi begins her tenure, she has an uphill task to build a strong Japan. She is preparing an economic stimulus package that is likely to exceed last year's $92 billion to help households tackle inflation. The package will also include investments in growth sectors such as artificial intelligence and semiconductors as the government focuses on strategic economic development. Takaichi, known as an advocate of expansionary fiscal and monetary policy, promised to work tirelessly to restore Japan's economic might, even shunning work-life balance in the process.
I will keep my promises. We cannot rebuild unless we mobilize the full strength of every generation. You will work like draft horses. I myself will throw away the very phrase work-life balance. I will work and work and work and keep on working.
Takaichi has been unapologetically blunt. The 64-year-old conservative politician says her goal is to become the Iron Lady, much like UK's former Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. Abhimanyu Pawar's report for DD India.
Greek police said on Wednesday that they had arrested 37 people in connection with the burgeoning EU farm subsidy scandal in which millions of euros are suspected to have been illegally claimed. A police advisory said the arrests had occurred in the greater Athens area, Thessaloniki, the island of Crete and other areas in an ongoing operation. An EU probe has shown widespread abuse of funds handed out by OPKP, which, according to the government, dispersed more than 3 billion euros annually. The recent GST reduction from 12% to 5% on a wide range of local products and services is set to bring significant relief to artisans, farmers and small businesses across Ladakh. The move supports artisans, farmers and small businesses, enhancing competitiveness, encouraging local entrepreneurship and driving sustainable growth. Pashmina wool produced by over 10,000 nomadic herders in Changtang will become more competitive against imports. Agriculture products are also benefiting, with over 6,000 families growing apricots alongside sea buckthorn berries, yak cheese and organic farm products. These reforms are boosting livelihoods, cultural preservation and sustainable economic growth across Ladakh. And India's two-time Olympic medalist and star javelin thrower Neeraj Chopra was conferred with the honorary rank of Lieutenant Colonel in New Delhi on Wednesday. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh bestowed the insignia of honorary rank of Lieutenant Colonel in the Territorial Army on Chopra. Chief of the Army Staff General Upendra Dwivedi and other senior officials of the Indian Army and Territorial Army were present on the occasion. Enrolled in the Indian Army in 2016, Neeraj Chopra has served with the Rajputana Rifles. The star javelin thrower created history by becoming the first Indian athlete to win an Olympic gold in track and field at the Tokyo Olympics. A great honor for Neeraj Chopra there. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India. Welcome to